Hey guys, this is kind of a new format, but I figured that there's a couple cool things I learned today, and I didn't want to set a whole meeting for it, but figured if I shared what I learned via this recorded video that you guys would have time to check it out and hopefully apply what some of the cool takeaways are to whatever you're responsible for in the company. And so, without further ado, I met with Kim Masiello this morning, who is the reading coach, literacy specialist at America's Finest Charter School. They use our product for 2 years, and she's, I think like really typical of the type of ideal school client that we have. So it was really interesting to hear her perspective on what the current program looks like, and also from her hear about what the competition looks like, because she also got a bit into that. So yeah, I'm going to cover like 4 topics really quickly. The first is talking about the competition. The second is she spoke about the difference between what features teachers really want and features that admins really want, like yourself. Third is the whole concept of understanding where students have issues with regards to specific skill sets, like point of view, main ideas, etc. And the fourth is in a conversation we had at the end about what ways to make the program more suitable for ELL and IED students. So yeah, the first part is apparently we should be more aware of RazKids, which is a company that's kind of been on our radar for a while, but we never really seemed too threatened by them because they seem pretty, I don't know, just not that strong of a competitor like AR and Achieve 3000 are. But in her opinion, they're what they switched to from us, and there's a lot of things that they do really well. For example, they do a really good job of diagnosing weaknesses that students have that correspond to Common Core skill sets, and they have a whole host of activities to help students get better. So kind of like the insights and next steps, they do that pretty well. And they also do a pretty good job of like creating nurturing a love of reading. They, along with dropping Who's Reading last year, they also dropped Achieve 3000, which is interesting. And she said that Achieve 3000 was actually more of a test prep tool than a tool that got students interested in reading, which I thought was interesting. Also, Achieve 3000 costs them $20,000 a year, which is nuts. Just thought that was interesting. So yeah, I mean, takeaways is, be more aware of RazKids and how we can be better than them. Because when I said that we were pitching ourselves sort of as AR but better, she's like, that's kind of what RazKids does too. So that's helpful. And just to know that Achieve 3000, man, they charge a lot. So I guess the ceiling for what you can charge schools if you have a good tool is pretty high. But maybe they went too high. So second thing is the conversation that we had about the difference between what teachers want and what admins want. And she said that it's extremely similar what teachers and what admins want. And that's kind of something that we assumed. In her mind, the big differences lie in the types of data that each party wants. So, and this is something that maybe Dave, you have some feedback on. But with teachers, they really want a snapshot or a dashboard that shows them what they can troubleshoot quickly. So something that RazKids does really well is that they've color-coded students and classes that help teachers really understand, all right, like we have a big weakness in main ideas, or Johnny has a really big weakness in whatever it is. But assuming that a teacher is really busy and you're just giving them, I guess, a very curated piece of information that's color-coded so that they know what type of action to take. And from an admin's perspective, that stuff's really useful, but what's more useful is being able to take a deeper dive into the data. So you can imagine. So what Kim says that she does a lot is she compares classes, to look at which 4th grade class, for example, is doing the best in main ideas and in inferences and all that stuff, because what she ends up using that data for is to essentially create these meetings where all the fourth grade teachers will meet, and she'll be like, all right, Mrs. Johnson, your students are doing really well in inferencing. Mrs. K, your students are doing terribly in inferencing. Mrs. Johnson, what are you doing? And they use that data as a jumping off point for all the classes to learn from each other on how to get good at what they're not good at, learning from the teacher that is doing a good job teaching. So essentially the data from the admin's perspective is really useful for kind of teaching teachers or helping teachers teach each other, which I thought was super interesting. And the other thing she said that was really, really important from her perspective, which I think is crucial for us to understand because it speaks to the stickiness of a tool, is that she really likes being able to access a lot of different reports on the fly easily. That's something that Achieve 3000 allowed her to do, and it's one of her biggest pain points with RazKids, and that RazKids has no easy way for her to get all the reports that she's looking for. And just to reiterate the point from a second ago, the reports that she's most interested in are reports that speak to skill sets, because who's doing the reading, while that's important, is something that's more of a classroom management issue. Although it's important, it's not as important as the skill sets. And so being able to get those reports quickly is what seems to be like the only thing that we need to do differently for admins than we need to do for teachers. So I thought that was super interesting. And I don't know, I think maybe Dave, you have some feedback on that, because I know you talk to teachers about, or admins about, the data that they want pretty often. So third thing, we just kind of talked about that, but it's the importance of skill set data. When she saw the data and insights tab, she was like, wow, that's a game changer. Like the fact that we're able to extract that information is super valuable. She did say that the types of insights that are most important are the ones that correspond to skill sets, which I know is something that Gilles, you're working on to be able to extract that via Answer the Question. So I just a vote of confidence in that direction as being something that's really important for teachers. And she really liked the fact that we auto-assign, or in theory, we're going to help auto-assign activities that students need help with, because that's something that RazKids doesn't do. And it just makes the program more valuable, because right now teachers have to go in through RazKids and find the activities that they need to assign to students based on their weaknesses. But far and away, she kept stressing the point of being able to identify where students are struggling, that connect to skill sets, is something that teachers are using all the time, because they're using that information to now do mini lessons on point of view, on main ideas, on the things that students need the most help with. And so I thought that was pretty useful to know. The last part of the conversation is it's, I think, really interesting, because I think it speaks to ways in which our program can address all learners, which makes it much more valuable. And she loved the fact that we're able to differentiate based on academic level. She thought that was such a game-changing feature, because she kept stressing you have kids in 5th grade that are reading at a 1st grade level and kids at an 8th grade level. So all the things that we're doing to differentiate the program, she's like, that's awesome. And she had a couple ideas for ways that we can make the program even more conducive to ELL learners, the English language learners, and also IED students, so students with different disabilities. And that's, she thought, via student roster page, to be able to sort of click on the students that you want to, I think the phrase that she said was scaffold for. So imagine next to Jordan Libowitz, it would say you have the option to click on him and identify him as a scaffold worthy student, or whatever the language we use. But essentially that would affect not just the level of questions that the student sees, that Jordan sees, but also she thought the fact that we have 3 open-ended questions is just cognitively way too difficult for early language learners. And so she recommended that we consider adding send stems at the beginning of certain questions to basically make it to guide them on how they should be answering a question, and also have scaffolds on the side. So when we use words like analyze or describe might be a little easy, but to define those words better for students. And then she also thought that having one of the three questions be fill in the blank or multiple choice, which obviously we have issues with, is a good idea, just because she's like, from a perspective of an English language learner, seeing three open-ended questions is way intimidating. So maybe finding ways where we can make that process less intimidating and easier. Anyways, those are kind of the main takeaways. It sounds like we're on the right track with providing the insights and the next steps, and the whole product as a whole. She just loves so much more than what we had in the past. She's like, you guys you're doing everything, and now it seems like it's going to be a decision between us and Raskids for next year. And she's like, you're already doing a lot of things better than Raskids, and it sounds like if we're able to, add a couple features to make it even more conducive for the IED students and the ELL students, and to be able to extract skill set related data and determine which students need help, and then in addition make the data reports by class, by school, more easily accessible by admins, then we'll have won their business again. And I'm sure not just theirs, but a lot of other schools that are, looking for the replacement for AR, or deciding between us and Achieve or us and Raskids. So yeah, that's all I got. Hope this was helpful.